how stablecoins, i.e. Tether USD or USDC, that is, cryptocurrencies whose value are tied to the value of a fiat currency, typically at a 1-to-1 rate, meaning 1 USD Tether is equal to $1 or 1 USDC is equal to $1 US. And why I think, at least for the creators of stablecoins, they are an ingenious plan. Now, this isn't going to be a moralizing video about whether Tether's assets are reliable, or whether money is, or whether USDC is a good investment. I'm not going to talk about the merits of cryptocurrencies as investments or assets. I'm not going to talk about why privacy protections, fraud, or any of that. That's not the goal here. The goal is just to talk about why I think it's good for the companies that create them. This has nothing to do with their investment worthiness or whether you should dabble in crypto. I don't care. I'm not a believer in crypto. You do you. Be careful with your money, but to each their own. Buyer beware. Now, the reason I think cryptocurrency stablecoins are good for the companies that create them is simple. Most users do not expect any sort of interest to be paid to them when they hold the stablecoin. So let's talk about USDC being the widely considered more trustworthy of the two or three major stablecoins. So let's talk about USDC. Just an example, I have no idea about the merits of the coin itself. You buy $100 of USDC. So the company that mints USDC gets $100 in exchange for 100 coins, which is typically sold to an exchange that sells it to you or such. So you buy $100 of USDC. It doesn't really matter how that USDC gets transferred for the sake of this example. The company that mints USDC takes in the $100, puts that in any number of things, but for this example, a bank account that is just a bank account because they are required to sequester assets such that if you ever want your $100 back, they give you the $100, you give them the USDC, bada bing, bada boom, such and such. Okay, now, you have the 100 USDC to invest into other cryptocurrencies or to use certain protocols, whatever you choose to do with it, create your own cryptocurrency, add liquidity to a liquidity pool, such and such. And they have your $100. Now, even if they do this the most legitimate way possible, which is they literally just stick the $100 in a bank account and hold it until somebody requests the $100 in exchange for returning the USDC, even if that's all they do. Most bank accounts are interest-bearing, whereas holding USDC does not inherently pay you interest. So, let's say the interest rate, for sake of math, on the account they put it in is 1% per year, which is right now in 2025 better than a regular bank account and way worse than a high yield savings account. But just to make the math interesting, let's say they put it in an interest bearing account that pays 1% per year. That means without doing anything, they get 1% from the institution. So they put you $100 in a bank account. After a year, they receive $1, meaning they now have $101. But they only owe you the 100 because you aren't entitled to the interest. So, and then you call up and you go, okay, I'd like my $100 back. Here's the USDC. No problem. They give you the $100 back. They get to keep the buck. They've done nothing except for stick some money in the bank. Obviously, there are some fees to set up the cryptocurrencies and blah, blah, blah. They've done essentially nothing. They have made $1 simply by holding money on behalf of someone else. It's brilliant. And in today's high interest rate environment, companies like Tether are printing because they have $100 billion, roughly, and they theoretically could, although that's not what they're allegedly doing, theoretically could take that $100 billion, shove it into a high interest savings account, which pays probably about 4% today, 4.5%. It's May 19th, 2025, so this video is date, but the example applies. They can literally just stick that $100 billion and receive an annualized rate of 4.5%, and then when people request their money, they just take out the money, they give it back or to the institution that is requesting it. Not a problem. Here's your money back. All we did was keep it in the bank account. And right now, because of high interest rate environments, we have $100 billion in any given time at 4.5%. That, my friends, is $4.5 billion. So they make 4.5% of money that isn't theirs just for agreeing to hold on to it in exchange for this coin which they have created. It's brilliant. Now, obviously, there are issues as to what types of assets the money is held in. Is it backed dollar for dollar? Is it in insured accounts in case something happens to their banking partner? Lots of things. But basically, stablecoin companies are theoretically able to say, I'm going to stick this $100 billion in or whatever amount into the bank. I'm going to give you this coin to do with whatever you want to do on the blockchain. And when you or someone else decides to give me the coin back, I return the money. But because there's no interest paid on possession of the coin, I get to keep the interest as payment for facilitating the creation and transaction of this stablecoin, which, given in regular interest rate environments, you might be able to get like 0.5% instead of 4.5%, or 1%. But that's still $1 billion if you're a major stablecoin company that you've done not a lot for and been able to keep all the money. Because you get to keep the interest. All you have to do is make sure the money stays safe, and that when somebody requests money in return for your stablecoin, you have the money to give them, and you can take back the stablecoin and probably burn it. I'm not exactly sure what they do. It's brilliant. I get to hold your money in interest-bearing accounts, but I don't have to pay you any interest. It's lovely. So, although I don't know anything about cryptocurrency, or I'm not making commentary on whether they're good investments, I love the idea of, I take your money, I give you collateralized coin, I wait for you to want the money back, or somebody else that you traded the money with to want the money back. I give you back the money, I keep the interest in whatever I decided to do with the money, with almost zero risk, depending on how they collateralize it. It's insane. Obviously, there are expenses to running a business. There are advertisements. There are fees to keep the office running, to take the withdrawal requests. And I'm not saying they do nothing for that money. There are things you have to do, but it's a very low risk way to get money. And even in low interest rate environments, you are still simply facilitating the holding of money in a bank account. It is quite impressive that they're able to do this and just hold the money. And because stablecoins aren't typically innately interest bearing. They can just keep the interest. Obviously, there are legal regulations to worry about. I'm not saying you should go out and create a stablecoin. There might be there might be things about them that are hard to deal with, but I do find the very base level of the idea kind of ingenious.